Except for Ben, because he's just tagging along with his rock dick. Let's be honest. Every time you saw the front of him, you looked at his rock dick.
More like rock bump. Like he doesn't really have a dick anymore.
Yeah.
That's probably like the most terrible part about his whole transformation is he loses his dick.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Not his fucking eyes that are misshapen on his head.
Hey.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, a weekly nerd culture podcast that discusses the culture through various segments. My name is Patrick Kuhn, alongside my co-host as always, that Tyler Hunt. How's it going, man?
It's going really well. How are you?
A little bit stressed. I feel like every episode, pretty frequently, I always complain about work.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's not that interesting to our listeners, but something happened to me the other day, and I feel like I kind of have to share it because I was just like dumbfounded. I want to share this story because I want you guys to know what I have to deal with on a day in, day out basis. So you understand the next time that I complain about it. So if you're not from like the Indiana, Tennessee area, you probably didn't know this, but AT&T and Verizon went out for it was like 4 or 5 hours a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And occasionally we have to call truck drivers. That's the only way we have getting a hold of them. So there was a little bit a couple of days ago when we couldn't get a hold of them. And so I had to call onto the floor and say, hey, give us a couple of minutes, because we had to talk to one of the truck drivers, tell him to do something. I don't remember what it was. It doesn't matter. Just letting you know it's going to take a little bit longer because we actually have to drive out there to talk to him. As soon as I get done talking on the radio, I know the guard in the other guard shack gets really lonely, and he's kind of a creepy guy. And so I knew he was listening to me, but I mean, it is what it is. He calls me immediately, and I got him on speakerphone, and he goes, yeah, AT&T is out. I was like, yeah, I know. That's what I just said on the radio. And he goes, yeah, I know. I was listening. I just wanted to let you know. What? I was like, but I know, I know. I just said it. He's like, I know, you know, I just wanted to tell you.
What?
And I was like, oh, okay. And I just hung up the phone. Why? What? Like,
that's really weird, man.
Yeah. Why would you call me to tell me something that you know I already know? It's like he called me to tell me I have a big dick. I mean, I know I have a big dick. It's a little weird that he would know that.
Yeah. That's where my mind went was, I mean, you said he was creepy too, so. Yeah,
it just, oh my God. Day in, day out. That's what I have to deal with at work. That's why when we record right after I get home from work, I'm usually in a pretty shitty mood because I have to deal with these window lickers all day.
No, that's funny.
Yeah. So normally we would just go ahead and get right into the show. But since I did such a horrible job last episode of pimping Shocktober in Irvington, Matt from the Obsessive Viewer actually sent me a promo. So instead of me butchering, just kind of pimping the Obsessive Viewer, I'm going to go ahead and play that promo, and then we'll get right into the episode.
Join the Obsessive Viewer podcast on October 16th at the Irving Theater on East Washington Street for the Obsessive Viewer presents Shocktober in Irvington Part 2. It's a one-night event screening of short films, including the premiere of J.P. Leck's The Lantern, the latest entry in his cross-medium Elsewhere world universe, as well as a modern retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart from the guys at Synapshot Productions and Billy and Brandon Watch Movies. There will be giveaways, raffles, interviews with the filmmakers, and so much more. All proceeds will go directly to the Irvington Historical Society. For more details, go to shocktoberinirvington.com. October 16th at the Irving Theater. Help support local filmmakers and a great community with The Obsessive Viewer.
All right. So if this is your first episode, we start each episode off by talking about what we're into. We just kind of like checking in with each other. And we call it what we're into. So Tyler, what are you into this week?
It's been a pretty crazy week for me. I started not a new job, but a new position at my current
it's throwing
job.
this whole podcast thing
I know.
off kilter.
I used to have a really set schedule, and now it's not so as set so much. So it's harder to record, at least this week, hopefully not in the future. But that being said, I haven't had a lot of time to be into anything new or exciting, but I did have a chance to squeeze in a Netflix movie the other day, and I wish that I would have watched something better. The movie I'm talking about is Staten Island Summer.
Yeah, I've seen an advertisement on Netflix for this, but I've not actually watched it.
I was pretty excited to see it on Netflix because a couple weeks ago I was really close to renting it for $5 on iTunes, and watching it that way. So luckily it popped onto Netflix for free. So I was excited about that. I was really intrigued by it because it's written by Colin Jost.
Yep.
Who is one of the anchors on Weekend Update
I think he's a head writer too. I think he is the head writer.
Yeah. So he kind of like took the role Seth Meyers had.
Yeah, exactly.
He does Weekend Update, and he's not in any other sketches, right?
None that I can. I mean, he might be some background.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I think Weekend Update is his big thing.
Okay, so like I said, he wrote this, and the director of this movie, his name is Rise Thomas.
Never heard of him.
I hadn't either, but I IMDb'd him, and he had directed a lot of Saturday Night Live specials. And then this movie also has some Saturday Night Live cast members and alum. So like Fred Armisen's in it, Will Forte's in it, Cecily Strong, Bobby Moynihan. So there was definitely a heavy, it's produced by Lorne Michaels as well.
Oh, yeah.
So very much Saturday Night Live is ingrained into this movie quite a bit. It's pretty run of the mill though. It's a typical summer party movie. The main character works as a lifeguard in Staten Island, and he has his, fat best friend that's crazy, and, working as a lifeguard, there's hot girls at the pool, and he wants to get with a hot girl. And so they're having this party, and it's very, very typical. And
sure.
Everything about this movie is, very predictable, and honestly wasn't even that funny. The cast was decent. Like I said, a lot of Saturday Night Live, cast members and alum are in it, but all in all, this movie doesn't do anything new or different. There were a few times that I chuckled, but like I said, it's just really generic, which was surprising to me. So I would not really recommend watching it, I guess.
All right, cool. So I will avoid.
Yeah, I would. Like I said, nothing memorable there.
Cool, man.
All right, what are you into?
I am into something on Netflix as well. I mean, it's pretty popular right now. I watched Wet Hot American Summer, first day of camp.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'd never seen the movie before.
Okay.
I'd heard good things. I'm not a huge fan of David Wayne and Michael, is it Showalter?
Yes.
I like them. I in small doses, I think their humor is funny, but for the most part, I wouldn't say that I was a fanboy of either one of them. So I just never got around to the movie. I heard good things. It's kind of a cult classic, but I've just never watched it. It's on the long list of things that I was eventually going to get around to. Well, my wife started watching it, when it first came out, the day it came out, sometime recently within the last 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was like, man, you got to check this out. I think you would really like it. And so her friend came over one night. It was, I think, last Friday or something like that. And she was like, I'll just start over. I'm only a couple episodes in. I think you both will like it. And we just binge watched the entire season that night. I mean, it's 8 episodes and they're 30 minutes long. So it's not really all that much of a commitment. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I was like, you know what? Her friend left. She went to bed. I was like, I'm watching this movie now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the show a lot better. I know that's kind of blasphemy because there's really hardcore fans of this movie, but I don't know. I just really liked the show, and the movie just didn't hold up to me.
I love that you said that because I wanted to watch the first day of camp. Or is it? Yeah, the first day of camp, right?
Yeah, it's a prequel though. That's why I didn't feel weird about watching the show than the movie, because the movie's the last day of camp that same year.
I've seen the movie. I watched the movie.
I didn't know you had seen the movie.
Like a month ago, I was like, I really want to watch this before the new series comes out onto Netflix. And I watched it and I was
Did you bring it up on the podcast? Because I'll be real embarrassed.
I can't remember. I think I might have.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember, but I was not impressed with the movie very much. Like, there were definitely some funny parts, but I mean, it's out there and I can respect that, but I just didn't see how it was such a cult classic, to be honest.
It's a satire of like camp movies, and those movies are already so ridiculous to begin with. And so when you have to take it that next step to parry it, it's just not. I like my comedies a little bit more grounded. Yeah,
I do too. Which since we kind of have the same taste in comedies, it makes me really ecstatic that you said that the first day of camp is better, because now I want to watch it even more.
They play off so well about how they're older.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. They just that self-awareness I find hilarious. I mean, it's fucking weird, dude. It's really weird, but I like it. It's fun weird. There's a particular scene that I really appreciated. Basically, there's a character in the movie. She's kind of a slut in the movie, and she is not in it very much. Well, she's also a character in the show, but you see her and it's just like a maybe 12, 13-year-old girl. Like she's a younger camper.
Yeah.
And then in the show, she has her first period. And so she runs to the bathroom, and one of the counselors is trying to console her and help her along. And so she comes out of the stall, and she's that character. She's the woman that you see in the movie. And I just thought that was a really funny way to do that.
Is it Elizabeth Banks?
No, no, she plays a really weird character in the show that they don't even reference in the movie. Like,
so she doesn't play the same character.
She does, I think. I think they just developed her character a little bit more, because she's not really in the movie that much.
Huh.
She really just kind of makes out with Paul Rudd a couple of times in the movie, and that's about it. Which, by the way, they kind of play off the fact that they're way too old to play these camp counselors in the show. Let's be honest, they're too old to play them in the movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, Paul Rudd has not aged a day. He looks exactly like he did. It's crazy. It's ridiculous. That dude, I mean, I swear to God, watch the movie and then watch the show. It's the same fucking dude.
No, man, that is awesome. I really want to watch it now. So
yeah. And I think, I mean, obviously they tied it in really well, because, I mean, they wrote the movie so long ago and they have it sitting there. So, there wasn't any of those mistakes. At least I didn't catch any where it was like, well, they said that in the show, so this character should be this way. So I appreciated that. There's so many people in it that are huge now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I mean, even, what's his name that does the voice of Archer?
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
He voices the can in the movie, which is really weird. And then that's one thing now that I think about it, they kind of play it off like only certain people know about the can, and is he really talking or is he not talking? And then in the show, he's a legit character and people know what happens to him. But then in the movie, it doesn't really, like, that's one thing that doesn't add up.
Okay. So you're saying his name's H. John Benjamin, by the way.
Yes. I can never remember which order it is.
But, you're saying he is a live action character in the show?
For a couple episodes.
Okay. And then
maybe not even, I know for at least an episode.
Okay. And then in the movie, obviously he voices the can.
Yes.
That what's his name? Chris Maloney talks to.
Yeah. They don't really clarify if everyone can hear him talk or if that's a thing or what. And then in the show, like I said, he's an actual character. He's a live action character in the show. And then he becomes a can through various means.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, it's fucking weird, dude, but it's funny. I don't know. I like the show a lot better than I like the movie. The movie was losing me towards the end, but to be fair, it was also getting to be like 2 or 3 in the morning at this point. So, I mean, I may have just been really tired.
I think that's a fair assessment, because I started off enjoying the movie. And then again, towards the end, like you said, it just kind of lost me. So
Yeah, for sure. All right. So our next segment is just plainly called comics. Tyler and I read a ton of comics and we just like to spotlight one. So Tyler, what are you reading this week?
I mentioned how I didn't have much time to do a lot of anything this week, but like right before we went and saw Fantastic Four, which we're going to review, I read a comic so I'd have something to talk about, and I'm glad I did. It was Hail Hydra #1.
I really wanted to pick this up.
Yeah, so I feel like we talk about Secret Wars every week, and every week we go back and forth about liking it or hating it or whatever. But the one thing that's been really consistent is these spin-off titles out of the Secret Wars have typically been pretty good, except for some instances like Infinity Gauntlet #2. But Hail Hydra #1, it's basically this character I didn't know a lot about. It's about Ian Rogers. So I guess he's a character called Nomad is his not his secret identity. I wouldn't even call him a superhero. Yeah, I guess his alias. Thank you.
Yes.
Is Nomad. And basically he's the son of Armin Zola, but he was adopted by Steve Rogers.
Okay.
Hence the name Ian Rogers. And I'm not sure what was happening before Hail Hydra #1, but basically he was in a Hydra base, and they say he gets on an elevator and he's transported to a different dimension. So it's a little out there at first, and I didn't really like that so much, but once it kind of gets going, it's pretty cool. So he gets transported to New York, but it's like a New York in battle world.
Okay.
And in this New York, Hydra rules it. So,
okay.
It's kind of like an alternate universe, basically. He meets this kid who's doing some graffiti, and he asks the kid what's going on, how did Hydra gain power? And the kid's like, actually, Hydra found in New York. So it's very, very much different from the New York he was used to. Things get a little weird. They get captured by Hydra and some shit happens. It's like they put these characters through this weird stove and they become soldiers. It's a little strange in that part, but it ends really strong. Basically, him and this kid escape from the Hydra place, headquarters that they're at. And, they run into this guy that looks like Captain America, except for there's, a Hydra emblem on his shield and Hydra emblem all over his costume. And this guy throws the shield and cuts the kid's head off. So that was a bit of a shock to see that in a Marvel Secret Wars comic, because I haven't seen anything quite that violent in these comics. And then, he gets in a fight with Nomad, and Nomad knocks his mask off, and it's him from the alternate universe. I guess the version of him if he hadn't been adopted by Steve Rogers and had been raised by Arnim Zola. And that's kind of where it ends. So it was pretty cool. It was awesome seeing like a Hydra version of what looked like Captain America. I just wish that I knew more about these characters, because again, I hadn't really ever heard of them.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. It sounds interesting, but very fucking weird.
Yeah, I don't know about the whole stove thing. It's like a way they torture them and make them soldiers. Again, they don't really explain it very well, or maybe I was kind of going in and out as I was reading it. I don't know, but it's not bad. It's not as good as something like Renew Your Vows, but I would say it's probably better than something like Old Man Logan.
Okay, cool.
All right, what comic are you reading?
I am reading something, and I haven't actually brought it up. I've been reading it for quite some time. I don't remember exactly when it came out, but they're at issue 8, and it's a Boom Studios comic. And I don't know why I'm being so vague. I do that from time to time. You can read the show notes. You know what I'm going to talk about. It's Escape from New York.
Okay.
Boom Studios does this thing where they like to not necessarily adapt movies, but they kind of tell you other stories based in these movie universes. Like they did Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. They did a Planet of the Apes as well. They just do a bunch of movie franchises, and they kind of tell you a different story. This particular comic book picks up where Escape from New York left off. And I don't know, and maybe I just missed it. I don't know if it's a gap between Escape from New York and Escape from LA. If it's the gap in between, or if they're just completely ignoring Escape from LA, which I'd be totally cool with, because that movie was a hot mess. Have you seen either one of these?
I've seen Escape from New York.
Okay.
It's been a long time, but.
Yeah, you haven't seen LA?
No, I've heard terrible things.
Yeah, skip it.
It came out in like the 90s too, right? Like a long time after the original.
Yeah.
Did John Carpenter direct it?
Yes.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's really bad. This comic, the reason I haven't talked about it yet is because it is also not that good.
Oh, fantastic.
I love this universe though. I really enjoy Escape from New York. And even though I did just shit on Escape from LA, it has its moments where it's fun.
Okay.
It's mostly stupid, but it can be fun. And that's kind of what this comic is. It's mostly really pretty stupid, but there's certain aspects of it. Like, I think it's either issue 5 or 6. Snake is like fighting in Siberia, and it's really fun to see him just kick some ass. And that's one of the reasons why people love the character. He's definitely an anti-hero, and he doesn't really care about anybody but himself. And I appreciate that because you don't always see that in movies and comic books. So I like it, but at the same time, it'll go 1 or 2 issues where I'm just like, why the hell am I reading this? This is boring. Like, there's nothing going on. And it's really fucking weird, and it never really pays off. And I would say, unless you're like a huge fan of this franchise, I would just say skip it because it's really not that interesting. The artwork is decent. I mean, it's a hell of a lot better than I could do.
Yeah.
But I'm not a comic book artist. Like, it's not that great.
Okay.
In terms of stuff that I normally like to read. Like, it's the fade out from Image is fucking amazing. And then I read this that it doesn't look that great. So.
Yeah, there's probably a reason that whoever the artist is for that book was forced onto it, and he's not doing a bigger project for like Image, Marvel, or DC.
Yeah, it's not great. I would definitely not suggest it. If you love the franchise, you're probably already reading it anyways. And I would suggest it might be fun for you to read it if you love living in this universe. But other than that, I would say just go ahead and skip it.
All right, I will skip it.
All right, cool, man. So the next segment is kind of your baby, so I'll just give it to you.
Yeah, so next we're going to do Nerd News, which is the segment in which I compile the bigger nerd stories, I guess, since the last time we talked. Usually movie, TV, occasionally comics, and video games. So first off, we have James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender possibly signing on for more X-Men movies. So it doesn't seem like it's been that long ago that we talked about maybe X-Men Apocalypse being the end of Bryan Singer's X universe, and then maybe like rebooting it or envisioning it in the next few years. But if sources are to be believed, both of these actors have signed on for more films. So I'm wondering if the studio really likes what they're seeing with Apocalypse, and they feel like they can move forward with some of the mutants that they're introducing in this movie that we're more familiar with, like Cyclops and Storm and Jean Grey, or what. But it seems like they're more interested in kind of staying in this universe for now. It
seems like the most logical thing to do. If you can get these actors to continue to work on these projects, it just seems like it makes the most sense since you've basically retconned the entire franchise with Days of Future Past. It seems like you can just start over, but you still have an established franchise with Michael Fassbender and, I completely blanked. Yeah. Thank you.
The only thing that they're going to run into is obviously Hugh Jackman's career as Wolverine is coming to an end. He's going to do another solo movie and then he's done.
Yeah.
So do you not use Wolverine for a while? Or do you recast him and act like it's still the same old character? I don't know. It's kind of hard to envision a bunch of X-Men movies without Wolverine present. Ever.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough call. I think ultimately they'd probably recast him, which I think is a mistake. But I mean, I think the bigger of the two mistakes would be to not have Wolverine in these movies, even though I can't envision anybody else doing it. And the whole retconning in Days of Future Past only makes sense.
Yeah.
If it's that Wolverine.
Yeah.
100%. But I mean, they recast stuff all the time. And so it could still be technically that Wolverine and just not be the same character. I don't know why I do air quotes and you guys can't see it. Tyler knows that I did air quotes there.
I know Jennifer Lawrence a few weeks ago, I think around Comic-Con, was saying that she didn't not want to be asked to do another one because her contract's up after Apocalypse. Basically, all the kids, or what the fuck am I saying? All the people from,
I'm pretty sure we're older than them.
Yeah.
Right?
Jennifer Lawrence is about our age. And Nicholas Hoult, I can't imagine him being too much younger than us. Anyways, the people
doesn't matter.
from X-Men, oh my God, X-Men First Class.
Yes.
Their contracts are up.
It's
with
really
Apocalypse. It is. It's been a long day. So that being said, I know she said that she'd be interested in extending her contract if they paid her enough. Is basically, she was pretty upfront about it. But I think the good thing with that is you need James McAvoy, you need Michael Fassbender, but let's be honest, you don't really fucking need Mystique.
No, you can do without.
And I actually would like to see her kind of go her own way, because I don't like that they have to make Mystique such a big character in these movies because they have such a high profile actress attached to that character. Obviously Jennifer Lawrence wasn't as prolific as
nobody knew who she was.
Yeah, in year one, it was just kind of a role for her, and then she exploded with Hunger Games.
Did you call it year one? First class.
First class. Goddamn. Oh my God. We need to move on from this story, man.
Yeah, next story, please.
All right. The rumor out there, and again, who knows if it's true, because I don't even think they've started writing this movie yet. They just have the writers attached. But it looks like Kraven might possibly be the first villain in the Spider-Man standalone movie.
Yes.
Which makes a lot of sense. We've never seen Kraven in a live action movie, and they're probably wanting to distance themselves from things like the Green Goblin, starting off. But I know that Kraven's one of your favorite villains. He's one of my favorite villains as well. Is that something you'd want to see?
Oh, absolutely. It would be really exciting to see it. I think it could be done really well. And it's something we haven't seen before. We've seen Green Goblin. We've seen Lizard. We've seen Doc Ock. We've seen all of these great Superman. God damn it. Spider-Man. That's just as bad as year one. Anyways, we've seen all of these great Spider-Man villains except for Kraven.
Yeah.
And he's a fan favorite.
Yeah. To me, it makes sense too. Like, it'd be so easy to put him into a live action movie. Make him like some crazy guy who's a hunter, obviously, and he has to bag Spider-Man because.
Yeah. And he's the most grounded of the.
Oh, for sure.
Spider-Man villains, which I think it says a lot about the character that we have gone through how many movies? 5 movies now.
Yeah.
This will be the 6th movie. And we still have great villains that we haven't seen yet.
Oh, for sure. Spider-Man and Batman are like neck and neck for me with Rogues Gallery. Like,
yeah,
just
for sure.
Like throw a stone and you hit a great villain. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Sony announced the release date for the Dark Tower movie, which has been long in development. I know Ron Howard was attached to it at one point, but he will not be directing this movie anymore. And the name of the director for it escapes me, but I'm not very familiar with his work. It's like Nick something.
This is news to me, to be honest with you. Yeah.
That's surprising. I think it's going to be coming out in January 2017.
I'll be real honest with you. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
This has been in development hell for forever. So it seems like every 6 months to a year, we'd get more news about it.
Yeah.
And then nothing ever happened. So I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. Have you read The Dark Tower at all? Are you familiar?
No.
I'm not either, but it's something I've wanted to get into. It's just one of those things where the universe seems to be really big and it'd be a lot to
It's like trying to start Game of Thrones, reading Game of Thrones right now. There's so many books and there's so many, the universe is so huge. I don't know if I'd ever have time to kind of sit down and dive into it.
It's pretty daunting. Sony had announced actually quite a few release dates for movies. Dark Tower was just one of them. It's a little weird though that they're dumping that in January. January 13th, 2017 is this release date.
Yeah, that's not a good time.
Some of the other movies they announced dates for, Underworld 5 is coming out October 21st, 2016.
Yes. Mark your calendar.
Remake of Jumanji is coming out on Christmas Day, 2016. Let's see what else we got. Resident Evil 6, the final Resident Evil movie, is coming out. It looks like 2 weeks after The Dark Tower. Bad Boys 3.
Oh yeah.
It's coming out.
That will be the trilogy.
Oh wait, no. That movie's coming out February 17th, 2017. Bad Boys 4 is coming out July 3rd, 2019.
Nice.
And they don't know if Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are coming back, but I imagine they are. Let's see what else we got. We have a Barbie movie coming out
nice
June in 2017. And Uncharted is coming out June in 2017. So
have they even cast anybody for that yet?
I don't think so.
I know we've talked about it before.
Yeah. I mean, it's 2 years away, so they have a little time, but man, that is quite the list of movies.
Yeah.
Right? All right. So moving on, Sherlock Holmes 3 looks to be in development with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law interested in returning. I don't know about Guy Ritchie returning to direct, though. That was the writer who said he's working on it. So
okay.
What do you think?
I really enjoyed the first one. The second one, not so much. The second one just seemed like the most obvious. Like, as the movie went along, the motivations for that movie just seemed like it was the most obvious choice. And it was just disappointing to me. I really enjoyed the first one. I was kind of on the edge of my seat and I didn't quite know what was going on. And that's the beauty of Sherlock Holmes is you're not as smart as he is. So you don't quite know what's going on. And that's the beauty of the movies. The second one, it was just like that possibly can't be what's going on because you see it a mile away. And then it turns out that that's exactly what's going on. And it's very disappointing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I disliked the second one as much as you did, but it was definitely a dip in quality from the first one because the first one was awesome. And, like you said, kind of kept you on the edge of your seat, and the way that everything came together at the end was pretty cool. I'd be interested in seeing a third one, but if they can't crack a story, I hope they don't shove it down our throats. But that's not the Hollywood way, so we'll probably eventually see it. Last story. I thought this was kind of funny. We're looking at seeing a Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Yep.
So they're going to recast Freddy Krueger. Jackie Earle Haley won't be playing Freddy Krueger again, and I doubt that they're...
Which I think he actually did a really good job.
Yeah, I did too. I have
my problems with the movie, but to be honest with you, I have my problems with the franchise as a whole. I think he's a great villain. I think it's a very cool concept. I just don't think the movies were ever really done all that well.
No, I don't know that they've stuck the landing very often with that character and that franchise. I honestly don't like the original very much. And I know that a lot of people would probably say that's their favorite. As it typically goes, the first one is the best and it dips in quality as you get sequel after sequel. But I think the first one's not that great, to be honest.
I haven't seen all of them. I've seen a few of them.
Yeah.
And I'm not really a huge fan of any of them, to be honest with you. Yeah. It's just not a franchise that I really care that much about. And I am a horror fan and I just don't really care about that particular franchise.
Yeah. The remake, I thought, like I said, Jackie Earle Haley did a pretty good job, but it was a very forgettable movie. I guess they just don't want to let the franchise die. I mean, it's going to make money one way or another. So why not pump out another one? But I honestly don't even know if I'll see it. I guess I'll have to wait for the promotional material before I make a call like that. But I can't imagine who they would cast as Freddy Krueger at this point.
I don't know.
All right, man. That's all I have for nerd news. We're just like flying through it today.
Yeah. All right. So our next segment, Tyler has already kind of hinted at it earlier. We are going to be talking about the new Fantastic Four movie that just got released. Well, now that we're recording it on Thursday, so we literally just saw an early screening of it. We normally like to watch a movie and then at least wait a day to kind of digest it, maybe even a couple, but just with Tyler's new job, we couldn't really do that. This was really the only time that we could sit down and record. So we went and watched it and we literally raced home and sat down and started recording. So this is going to be a little bit rough. It's not really, we're not going to really go. I'm going to try to do the same thing that we normally do as far as broad strokes and then kind of touching on the story and the performances and whatnot. But it's going to be a little bit more of a rough draft than it normally is. Just because we just literally saw it and neither one of us even took time to take notes. We just sat down and recorded. So this is going to be just kind of off the cuff sort of review. Before we went to the movie, I did write down a synopsis, but I literally just transcribed it from IMDb. So it's not one of my usual. It's not an original. But here I go. 4 young outsiders teleport to an alternate and dangerous universe which alters their physical form in shocking ways. The 4 must learn to harness their new abilities and work together to save Earth.
That synopsis doesn't even match what happens in the movie.
I literally took it from...
I know, but...
I mean, it does. It's so vague, though.
Yeah, I mean, Okay, never mind. I won't get into plot details.
Okay, so we normally, like I mentioned before, we always start with broad strokes, not getting into too much particulars, but what'd you feel overall about this movie?
Felt it was very rushed. I felt that it was not good.
What do you mean rushed?
Well, I don't want to get into particulars, right? But especially the third act.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there.
All of a sudden, it's the third act, and I don't know. The storytelling was very strange. Like, the movie starts off like any other normal superhero movie, and it felt very, not even generic. I wouldn't say it was generic, but it felt like it was going to follow the same plot devices the past superhero movies have followed. It doesn't know what it wants to be. There's all sorts of different elements of different genres in this movie, and it flips back and forth almost kind of often. Like, the end almost has some horror to it. I listened to an interview with Josh Trank actually on Fat Man on Batman, where he talked about how he really was interested in making like a body modification horror type movie, something he always wanted to do. And that's basically what the Fantastic Four are. And that element was definitely in this movie, but it felt very pieced together. I know that there were a lot of things happening behind the camera with Josh Trank in the studio, if reports are to be believed. And I think that you can kind of see that in the finished film. It wasn't a very long movie. I expected it to be longer. So I'm wondering if they cut pieces out of it that would have made it a little bit more coherent. But I think that that's the best word I can think of for it is rushed.
I agree with you as far as the third act is concerned.
Yeah.
It felt really rushed, but the rest of the movie was just, oh my God, get somewhere.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
It was so fucking boring.
It was.
I mean, this movie I think is like an hour and 45 minutes, and I think about an hour 30 of that is just exposition.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, it's crazy. You have to get to know them as kids, and then you get to know them as older kids, and it just, oh man, it didn't know where it was going, and it took fucking forever to get there. It was not good.
No, not at all.
So let's go ahead and just dive right into the story. And I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, with your broad strokes, but what'd you think of the story in general? Just the actual particulars.
I mean, there was actually some stuff that creatively I thought they made the right decision on with these characters, like going to an alternate dimension, and that being how they got their powers. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, you don't see that in the first one.
No, and it being the way that these characters are kind of thrown together wasn't bad. But
I thought that was kind of artificial.
Yeah, I thought, and especially whenever Ben Grimm is brought into it, that was
forced for sure.
Super forced.
I'm glad you brought that up because that really bothered me. Because all of these other kids, let's call them kids, because at this point they're younger than we are.
Yeah, they're supposed to be freshmen in college?
Yeah. They have been working on this thing for, let's just say, a year. They don't really tell you how long it's been. Victor's been working on it for longer than that. They've been working on this thing. They got it done. They completed it. And then all of a sudden, Reed's like, I want to invite one of my high school buddies.
Yeah.
If I'm one of these other, fuck you, man. I'm the one that actually worked on this and did this. Yeah. Why is this guy that I've never met get to be part of history?
And that's so with the character that they made with Victor and how he interacts with Reed and how he's kind of a dick. For him to be super okay with that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, sure, Ben Grimm can come.
Yeah.
It's very unlike his character.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole reason that they're doing this is, and I'm trying to be as vague as possible because, of course, we're trying, even though I don't think either one of us is going to suggest seeing this movie, we're still going to try to stay away from spoilers. Basically, what happens is they make this machine and then it's going to be taken away from them. And so they want to kind of sneak in and be the first ones to do this, which makes sense. I mean, you create it. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of the actual trip? And so that makes sense. Why would you invite his buddy?
And why would Ben Grimm be so cool with going? Like, he basically gets drunk dialed by Reed Richards and he's like, yeah, sure, I'll come.
That part didn't bother me because he seems like he was very protective of him, and he was kind of his bodyguard. And so that makes sense. Even when they're in the other dimension, it seemed like he was only there to make sure Reed got out, because something happens to Victor and he's just like, whatevs, let's get out of here. Like, Reed tries to help him, and Ben's only concern is getting him out of there.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. That's one of the bits of character development that I actually appreciated, was their relationship.
Oh,
even though
I can agree with that.
It takes a break for a while in the movie, because he goes to this essentially school, but it's supposed to be the Baxter building, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's also a college. I don't really know exactly how this place works, but he goes here and then he just kind of forgets about Ben. You see one little text message, and then I guess they've been communicating the entire time, but you don't ever see it. So it's a while before you see them together again.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, this movie, there's a lot of things about it that are kind of weird. It doesn't know what it wants to be, and it felt very pieced together. Characters act in different ways from scene to scene. Like, I didn't feel like any character was really consistent. Maybe Sue and maybe Johnny a little, but
Sue was weird. She was a weird character. What was her deal with patterns? Like, they never explained that. They never explain what she's good at.
No. Like,
they explain what everybody else is good at. Except for Ben, because he's just tagging along with his rock dick. Let's be honest. Every time you saw the front of him, you looked at his rock dick.
More like rock bump. Like, he doesn't really have a dick anymore.
Yeah.
That's probably like the most terrible part about his whole transformation, is he loses his dick.
Yeah, that's the worst part. Not his fucking eyes that are misshapen on his head.
Hey, at least in the original Fantastic Four movies, he's like boning that blind chick, so
yeah,
he still has a dick.
We've spent way too much time concerned about his dick. Anyways, they never explain what she's good at, what she's bringing to the team.
Yeah, and Kate Mara plays her very, very much like a cardboard cutout. Like, she has no personality. You don't really ever get an explanation about her background, or, like you said, what she's good at. And then when she gets her powers, it's just really, she's just kind of there.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see her struggle with them or really enjoy them. You just kind of see her testing them out. And again, there's just no emotion from that character whatsoever.
Do you think that, and I guess we can kind of move on a little bit to performances. Do you think anyone did anything here? I felt like they were all cardboard cutouts.
I felt like, Michael B. Jordan made more of an effort than some of the others, but he failed for sure.
I did like how, and you brought this up with Josh Trank trying to make a bit of a horror movie. I did feel that a little bit when Michael B. Jordan first, when they're kind of getting tested and he's figuring out his powers.
Yeah.
You could kind of see that he was losing it a little bit, because, I mean, obviously that would be terrifying.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, like, you're on fire. It looks like you're on fire.
Yeah.
And so that would be absolutely terrifying. And you felt that in his performance. So I appreciate that. It was actually one of the few moments in the movie that I was like, okay, this is working.
Yeah.
But it goes away so quickly that it's just like, okay, well, you built up a little bit of momentum and then you can completely squash it, because then the next scene, he fucking loves it. But I mean, if you read the comic books and you know the character does love it. So that makes sense, but it was all over the place.
Oh my God, this movie was a mess.
Yeah, for sure. But sticking with performances, was there anybody other than that one scene that I talked about, anybody doing anything in this movie?
No, they all just kind of showed up for a paycheck.
And what really bothered me is it Toby Cabell?
Cabell, yeah.
Why? Why take the guy from Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, my favorite movie of all time? Cuba does an amazing job.
Okay.
I think he got screwed with the Oscars. Him and
Andy Serkis.
Andy Serkis. I'm terrible with names. I blanked on his name. I think they got screwed because with the motion capture, they did so much with their face.
I know
Why would you take a character that clearly knows, an actor, not necessarily a character, that knows how to do that to emote with his face and make him the character that literally his face no longer moves? You get nothing from his face. How the fuck does he talk, by the way?
That's a good point. I was wondering that the first time he starts talking and
his mouth's not moving. Does he just make sounds through the vents? He's got little vents.
Yeah. I don't know, man, but
is he the Lord?
And Dr. Doom looks
fucking
terrible.
Stupid. Really stupid.
Bad. Like, it was some of the worst makeup I think I've ever seen. Like, at that point, just make it all CGI because it looked like they took him and they just put like this big plastic mold over his head. Yeah. And his head's too big and the green glowing stuff is too much.
But it's just like, you're not allowing him to do anything. It's not even his fault that he didn't give a good performance because you're literally destroying any emotion that he could create.
It basically putting an actor in a cardboard box.
For sure. I would be surprised if it was even him.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, why would he need to be there? I mean, just do the voice and be done with it.
Yeah.
I mean, Miles Teller, he did some things here and there, but to be honest with you, it was one of those cases where, and I think I've mentioned this before, it's hard for me to tell sometimes if it's bad acting or if it's bad writing.
I think it's both in this case for me.
I don't know, cause he's done good stuff.
Oh, obviously.
So I think if he's one of those actors, if he's given something good, he can make he can take something that's good and make it great. I just don't think that he has it in him to make something really shitty, enjoyable.
I think that he was serviceable as Mr. Fantastic, which they never call him that, which is fine. But until the third act, when they're in the other dimension, spoiler, it's not really that big of a spoiler.
No.
His acting's awful. Like whenever he's kind of shouting orders and coming up with the plan on how they're going to stop Dr. Doom. It was the worst acting I've ever seen out of Miles Teller, and I've seen that awkward moment.
I was going to say, have you ever seen the awkward moment?
Yeah, and that was worse than anything in that movie. And I really like Miles Teller, and I was excited when he was cast, but I think after a while he kind of started phoning it in.
Yeah, for sure.
It was actually funny. I think I read an interview with him here lately where he's kind of trying to distance himself from this movie already, where he's like, oh, well, we haven't even seen the finished product yet. So I think that he heard the bad buzz about it and he's kind of already started like kind of distancing himself. So it's not going to hurt his career as much.
Yeah. Other than that one scene with Michael B. Jordan, I can't even think of anything like I was impressed with. I mean, Ben Grimm doesn't really do anything for me. He just kind of sits there and pouts the whole time.
Yeah.
It felt weird when he said bullshit at one point, and it felt really weird within the context of the movie, because the movie's PG-13.
Yeah.
It felt weird. Just the way he said it, it just felt like really abrasive.
Yeah.
I don't know. So action. There's almost none of it in this movie.
Yeah. This is I guess probably the least amount of action I've ever seen in a superhero movie.
For sure. And it's all in the third act, and it's all stupid.
Yep.
All of it's fucking stupid. The whole third act, when they're in the other dimension, is fucking stupid.
Yeah.
The plan is stupid. It was definitely rushed. It was just like, how are we going to get out of this now? And then they threw it together, and then their first plan worked, which the first plan never works.
That you never see them go through the growing pains of becoming a team.
Yeah.
There's nothing. They're just all of a sudden there and they're fine. And they take care of it. And it happens all in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like blink and it's the third act. There's no lead up to it. As soon as the villain is introduced, it's the third act.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I can't believe that a movie like this with such talent attached to it has such terrible pacing.
Yeah, it's really bad. So, I mean, the least amount of action I think I've ever seen in an action movie. It was really, really stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole movie, none of it really made sense.
Obviously there was really bad buzz around this movie, and I had read a lot of terrible reviews for it, but I wouldn't say I was hopeful, but I was like, well, I can't imagine that it's that bad. Like, the trailers haven't been amazing, but I like the tone of them, and I think that this movie is going to have something serviceable come out of it. And there really wasn't. I was surprised by how bad it was, and I had low expectations.
When I go into a movie, I might occasionally, like, check Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Like a movie that like this movie we were planning on seeing for a long time. I brought it up on my, the top 10 summer movie preview.
Yeah.
I brought it up. I was looking forward to it. I was going to see it regardless what. It could have gotten a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes and I would have gone see it. I try not to read the reviews, but I'll check the percentage occasionally. And so I knew it wasn't getting very good reviews, but you never know what their agenda is. Everybody has their own agenda. Maybe they're not fond of superhero movies. Maybe they've never read the comic book. So you kind of always bring your own baggage into a movie. So I was like, well, I'll see what it is.
Yeah.
What is there to say that we haven't already? It's a hot mess and it's not fun. It has
fuck no.
Almost no redeeming qualities whatsoever. You would think a movie that was so boring and was waiting to lead up to something, that conclusion, what it was leading up to, would have been satisfying. It wasn't at all. It was really rushed. The action was really shitty. The special effects weren't even that good. I don't know if we've even touched on that yet. When they first go to that, the other dimension and they see that green energy or whatever, it looks like the worst special effects I've ever seen. Like green screen, just really bad.
Human Torch looks awful.
I didn't think he was
whenever he the flame was on, his face looked all jacked. It was, to me, that was just really bad. I just was thinking about this. So I guess, Reed Richards, after getting his powers, doesn't need glasses anymore.
Nope.
I never thought, I just thought of that. It's like he stops wearing glasses into the second and third act.
Yeah. And he grows a really shitty beard. At least he tries to.
What'd you think about the time jump? I wasn't expecting that. And I think that you could have used that year time jump to maybe fill in some character details and move the plot along a little easier.
Okay. So I'm glad that you brought that up because Victor has been there for a while.
Yeah, like a year.
Why the fuck did he wait? Why did he have to? Is there a reason why he had to wait to do his big thing?
I guess the way I interpret it is he was content living in this other dimension.
Okay.
And whenever they come back, that pisses him off because he knows what they're doing.
Okay.
But I'm not necessarily trying to take up for it because it's all dumb. Don't get me wrong, but that's how I interpreted it, I guess.
Okay. I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah. Cause I mean, the first thing he says is, I knew you'd come back, and he's pissed off about it. So if they would have just left him alone, it seems like he would have been content.
Does he not eat anymore? He doesn't need to eat.
How the fuck does he survive
with his little vents? The little vent mouth.
You take the the pinnacle villain in Marvel.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Yeah.
And you just do him no service at all.
No.
Give this character back to Marvel Studios, please.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I would love to see a Marvel Studios made Fantastic Four movie. I'm not the biggest fan of too much humor in my comic book movies. I like when they're taken seriously. Definitely a lot of the Marvel movies are the exception to that. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, and there's tons of great humor in that. But Fantastic Four, humor's always been a part of it. Yeah. And the characters have always been kind of lighthearted. And they completely stripped all of that away in this movie.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of humor comes from, even though it is kind of a big brother sort of relationship, and there's a lot of tension there sometimes. I think a lot of the humor comes from Ben and Johnny's relationship, and you almost never see them together.
And they hint at it at the closing.
The very end.
And it's like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
Because he's never shown any, like, jabbing or anything towards Ben at throughout the entire rest of the movie.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, we're just going to throw that in at the end, and you're going to kind of give you a glimpse of the Fantastic Four, but there's no reason behind it.
It's stupid.
This fucking movie.
Okay, let's just be done with it. Star rating.
1.5.
Yep, 1.5. Will you ever watch it again?
I don't think so. I might, if it's on Netflix or something, and I won't
ever buy it.
Yeah, and that bums me out. Because
I own the other two Fantastic Four movies, actually.
I do too, and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask you about that. So the other two Fantastic Four movies
Are bad.
are bad. Do you think this is worse than those two movies? Is
Yes.
this the worst Fantastic Four movie
Yes.
ever made? Except for maybe the 1994 one. I've never seen it.
No, I've never seen that one. Yes, I would watch either one of those movies, especially Silver Surfer. I think people shit on that movie. I don't think it's that bad.
No, I don't either.
I would watch either one of those movies before I watch this movie again.
100%. I agree with you. I think that those characters were closer to the characters we know and love.
And the story made sense and it wasn't fucking boring.
And it followed a simple, plot structure.
Yeah. I mean, certainly those movies aren't good by any stretch.
No.
But they make sense. The plot makes sense. There's some character development, but this was a bad movie.
It hurts my brain thinking about how they fucked this up so bad.
Yeah, they really did.
I feel like everything was lined up for them and they just fucked it up.
Yep.
I'm really bummed because I like Josh Trank. Like I enjoyed, Chronicle. I love his Fat Man on Batman interviews. Like he seems like he's a really bright guy and shares a lot of similar interests with nerds like us. And he talks about how much he loves the Fantastic Four. And if that's true, how did he fuck this up so bad?
Yeah.
And how much of it was the studio? Like I'd love to see a documentary about how this movie was made, like the process behind it and how Josh Trank got into a fight with the studio. And I'm just really curious.
Yeah.
I know we're wrapping it up, but again, there was so much talent in this movie.
Yeah.
Like Miles Teller and, oh shit, why am I forgetting his name?
Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, I couldn't remember his first name. All I was getting was Jordan. Michael B. Jordan.
And that's about it.
Yeah, Kate Mara's nothing special. And
No.
Jamie Bell's alright.
Yeah.
But
he was hardly in this movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, I'm done with talking about the Fantastic Four.
1.5.
Yep.
All right. Are we ready to move on to our last segment?
Yep. I was waiting on you. It's your week.
All right. So it's my week for Nerd Favorite. Nerd Favorite is always the last segment in our episodes. Nerds love talking about their favorite this or their favorite that. So we figured that we would do it every week and we take turns going back and forth. So Pat, seeing as I brought up Staten Island Summer for what I'm into and that being so heavily influenced by Saturday Night Live, I thought I'd ask you who your favorite Saturday Night Live cast member of all time is.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and go first. Mine is Chris Farley.
Okay.
I think, Chris Farley is one of the most, genius comics to ever live. I just, all of his stuff always hits the right notes for me. I guess it's a mix of the physical comedy and his delivery I thought was always great. Tommy Boy is one of my favorite comedies of all time. And I think that that's a little bit of nostalgia.
Sure.
For sure. But, his stuff on Saturday Night Live was always great too. And I don't know how popular of an answer that would be because there's been so much talent come out of Saturday Night Live. And, obviously his career was short-lived due to his death. I kind of shudder a little bit when I think about maybe what his career would have been like had he lived. I don't want that to sound too dark, but if it had gone the same path that Adam Sandler's did.
Yeah.
And he was basically playing the Kevin James characters in these movies, that would be really, really sad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously really sad that he passed away, but, this is a kind of related note. Did you see that he had originally been cast as Shrek?
Yep.
And they just released, I think today, like this, rough animated footage. It's like storyboards with his voice acting behind it. He had recorded like 85 to 90% of the dialogue. Did you by any chance watch that?
I have not watched it, no.
It didn't really hit for me. I think actually Mike Myers probably did a better job for that character. The voice was very Chris Farley and very, very rough. But, getting back on topic, I would say that, Chris Farley is probably my favorite Saturday Night Live cast member of all time.
Cool, man. Are you going to watch the documentary?
Yeah, I really want to watch it. The only hesitance I have around it is that it was made by Spike TV.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know
or
that.
at least it debuted on Spike.
Okay.
I don't know if it was like one of their original productions or anything, but I really want to watch it for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely intrigued by it. I think, well, I was just going to go ahead and answer it.
Yeah. I was going to ask what your answer was.
Okay. I think this has a lot to do, you ask different generations, different people are going to give you different answers.
Oh, for sure.
I think my dad would give a different answer than we would give. I think his probably be Dan Aykroyd or somebody a little bit older.
Yeah.
I think you can kind of tell someone's age and the generation that they discovered Saturday Night Live by who their favorite cast member is. You picked one a little bit older than I thought you were going to pick. I'm going to go with Will Ferrell. I know that's kind of like a typical answer, but I mean, it is my answer. That's the cast that I grew up with. Yeah. Adam Sandler, David Spade, Chris Farley was kind of just like a little bit too young for me. I mean, I appreciated them. I've seen reruns, but I never really saw them do it live. I saw Will Ferrell and that cast do it live.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't see Chris Farley do Saturday Night Live live.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying 100%.
One of my favorite skits of all time from SNL is Celebrity Jeopardy.
Yeah.
And that's just fantastic. No. I don't remember who was it. Daryl Hammond. Did he do
Sean Connery?
Yeah. And just him and Will Ferrell I mean, they fucking killed it.
Oh, for sure. This is a little off topic, and if you don't have one, that's fine. What would you say your favorite Saturday Night Live produced movie was, like, based on one of their sketches?
Oh, man. Because I think it's got to be Wayne's World, right?
Yeah, that's mine as well. Because they're usually not that great of movies.
Yeah.
But Wayne's World's great. And I have a soft spot in my heart for Night at the Roxbury because I liked it when I was young.
Yeah. I mean, that's more of a guilty pleasure than, I mean, you have to realize how stupid that
I watched that like 2 weeks ago.
How does it hold up?
It doesn't hold up as great. But there were still parts that made me chuckle because I liked it so much in grade school. But I think their best quality movie is by far Wayne's World.
Yeah, for sure.
I watched that a couple weeks ago as well, and that does hold up.
Well, how do you feel about the sequel? Because I know a lot of people shit on the sequel. I mean, it's essentially the same movie. It's the same type of humor. It's the same idea. It's just they're furthering the story.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad by any means, but it definitely doesn't hold up to the original, in my opinion.
For sure.
It has some weird moments.
Yeah, but so does the first one.
Yeah, but in both movies, what's her name? Is it Trixie? What's the love interest's name?
Sure, I
don't remember, but she's like constantly running away from Mike Myers, from Wayne.
Yeah.
Like in the second one, she's getting ready to get married to somebody else. It's just, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but it's not bad by any means.
All right, cool, man.
And Dana Carvey is amazing.
For sure.
He'd probably be, he definitely would be like top 3 or top 5 for me, cast members.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, cool.
All right. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at The Nerds Podcast. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/The Nerds Podcast. Check us out on Google Plus, our new YouTube channel, which I've been sticking with my once a week Let's Plays. So hopefully I can keep up with that. I mean, I'm really enjoying them. They're a lot of fun to do. So definitely check those out. Vote for us for Podcast of the Month at podcastland.com. Email us at thenerdsyourlookingfor@gmail.com. Definitely check out Shocktober in Irvington. Our friends over at The Obsessive Viewer are working hard to put together a really good show. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. So check that out. Go to, I think it's Shocktober. God damn it. I'm so sorry, Matt. I was doing so well. I'll put a link to a website in the show notes. So definitely check that out.
You can buy your tickets for it online now.
Yeah, and that's the website I was trying to think, and I just completely blanked on it. I'm so sorry, Matt. Seriously, I fucked this up two episodes in a row. I'm so sorry. But I think that's about it. Is there anything else you want to pimp?
Nope.
I have a couple of shows, out of town shows. That's kind of exciting. I'm doing a stand-up show in Bloomington at Bears. They're open mic. They do it Monday night. So I'm looking forward to that. Just kind of getting out of Evansville, and doing some stand-up outside of this shitty town. And then that same week, I'm going to Louisville at the Laughing Derby, a legit comedy club. I'm really excited about it. They have the Great Kentucky Mic Off comedy contest. And so I'm taking part of that same week. So if anybody lives around those areas, come check me out.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'll pimp it more as it comes up, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. All right. So for Patrick Kuhn,
Tyler Hunt,
we are the Nerds You're Looking For. Take it easy, guys.
See you guys.